All right, Ramsey.
Yeah, I was just setting up the live feed for him.
That's
So I'm going to my event.
yeah.
I
I just finished today the New Testament
Nice.
for the first time. Turn it up here.
Awesome.
Never gotten that far before.
That's awesome, dude.
What's going on, brother? This bomb.
Okay. Lucky to be awake, I think.
Hold on, let me turn this down. Okay. And what did you say?
Yeah. No, I said I'm happy to be like awake, because I almost missed Angel. Because I didn't get any sleep for like the past 2 nights. And so when I came back from my
Say
shift,
turkey?
No.
Louisville, Kentucky.
boom, lights out.
Oh, Louisville, Kentucky. Oh, okay. Nice. What is like in Kentucky?
Pushing you.
Dog, listen, you're coming up here with an attitude. I'll push you off this. Tell him you slip.
Yeah.
Hello, G. How are you?
Yeah, you could
Oh,
feel
they're
like
up there.
you can feel it in your
Oh,
stomach.
I probably have to re-enter. If he did, I have to re-enter then.
What?
Huh?
Did he
Did he
come
come back?
back?
Uh,
For
yeah, to
moderator,
make
take
us
a.
moderators.
I gotta re-enter.
I thought you could do it right here, especially if you was already a moderator. You can turn somebody into a moderator. And I think there's a couple ways you can do it, but he decided to go on his laptop and do it. But he asked me to moderate, so I just told him I'd do it for him. So how you doing? How you doing?
Good, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Did he did he turn you into a moderator, Doc?
No, it didn't take. I have to see how my name is spelled. It's not even I really know.
Christian Fellowship.
Or non-states or what?
Christian Fellowship, all one word.
And he's not gonna have any problems in here.
Yeah, I don't think right now he's gonna have.
Moderator or not, don't even think about it.
But he needed this is his first his first event.
Yeah,
Exactly. So this way he can
Christian
focus
Christian Fellowship, all one
Right.
word.
on all one word. Oh, okay. Thanks. Yeah, because of course I never look at it.
But here Neighbors was telling me that if he had his host tools up, he can just highlight you and turn you into a moderator.
Oh, I don't. What it should be to make it easier is like to make someone a moderator like in the beginning, right? Because when whatever is like in your real world does not carry over into,
I caught you.
into your event. I don't understand that.
Right,
What are
right.
you
Doesn't
waiting
make
for?
sense. You have to like,
Right.
What am I waiting for?
all over again. It's redonkulous.
So we'll wait till he comes back. And if he doesn't do it, then we'll wait till after the event. And then we'll show him how
Yeah, I was in here with Doug when he was
How are you doing
building
that?
this world.
Okay, so
Doug build it.
No.
here, come over this way.
Yeah.
But Doug should have the way
So you have both controllers, right?
how to
No, he
Yes.
doesn't know how to do that.
So on your right controller, hold down the B button,
Yeah, he has not a clue how to do that stuff. He just
What is the
builds
B
stuff.
button, the top or the bottom?
the top one.
Oh yeah, you know everyone.
Do you see the little line?
Oh,
And you can point that at something and go right to it.
Pretty good, man. How are you?
I see. Okay.
That's for teleporting. And then on your left controller, if you hold down the trigger and push forward, no, it's okay. If you hold down the trigger and push forward, you run. The left
and
trigger.
forward?
Left trigger and move
Yeah.
around and you walk faster.
Okay.
Don't make me
I'll get used to it.
Yeah, it's
Oh, sorry.
once you get used to it,
I
it's
butted you.
that's all right. Yeah, once you get
Yeah.
used to it, it's more immersive. You know,
Yeah. Okay.
big screen you can only go from point A to point B. Here you can walk everywhere.
Yeah.
In fact, come up the stairs. Follow me up the stairs.
Okay.
Okay.
Ow.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
Don't be giving away trade secrets now.
And then right in here, if you jump in this water, this is a baptism pool. Psh. Just walk in. There you go.
Oh.
And then if you see right here where it says Jesus is the way, you can walk right through this wall.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Now you've been
Very
virtually
nice.
baptized.
Thank you.
There we go.
Literally and virtually.
Yep.
All right, let me pick a spot.
There you are, brother. Hello, welcome. What's up, Carol?
Welcome, everybody.
What's up, brother?
Make sure I got my host.
Walt was trying to tell everyone.
Yeah, you're
that you
good.
left 'cause you had to poop. So I told him you'd be back.
Okay, come on, man. Let's tone it down. Let's keep it toned down there, Murray.
I think I still messed it up. I was trying to.
But we'll get through it, and then after the event, we'll show you how.
Yeah, we'll just do it another time.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll show you. Just let you know that me and Darlene.
Wait.
Moderate.
Don't let me
How do
do.
we turn the music
confirm.
down?
So
Or is that something?
go to the
I'm
menu.
gonna make a moderator.
All right, I got it.
So the menu is the big
You got
A.
it. Darlene got
Go
it.
to settings,
Okay,
Okay.
I got it.
audio,
All right.
and turn down the environment volume to like 1.
Okay.
Fine.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So I think you guys should be set now.
I got it.
Got it.
You can hit the music. We're doing on time. 4 minutes.
There we go.
Wow. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good, man.
Doing well.
Good. Excellent. Well, I'm glad you guys are here, and I want to just kind of, I guess, share a little bit about or introduce you guys a little bit about parables and our ministry. And the best way to do that is through storytelling. Tonight, I'm not going to preach a sermon or anything like that. I'm actually just going to share some stories that I hope will touch your heart. And the whole idea behind biblical storytelling and Christian storytelling as a whole is helping people to connect. And so I don't know about you, but sometimes when I want to come up to somebody and start talking about Jesus, they immediately put a wall up. Usually it's because of the megaphone guy. Everybody know the megaphone guy? No, you don't know the megaphone guy? So let me tell you about the megaphone guy. He's the guy that sits on the soapbox and has a big sign that says "Turn or Burn."
Okay. Yeah.
And you know the megaphone guy? And so he's yelling out a megaphone, and it's like he's the guy that makes
Okay.
unbelievers think that God hates. And so when you try to say anything about the goodness of the Lord, they turn and they freeze up. So sometimes you need another way in. And I found that stories are a great way to begin those conversations. And what happens is that not only do people enjoy stories, but they'll ask questions, and the next time you'll see them, you say, "Hey, I got another story. Can I tell it to you?" And they're open. They're open. So you guys are welcome to gather around. I think I'm gonna try. It's the first time I've had a chance to play around in our new little spot. So I guess I'll try to step up here on the stage. Not much for stages, never have been. So let me tell you a story just to get you started off. This is a simple story. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm in a hotel in Atlanta right now, so I'm borrowing some Wi-Fi. Awesome. So the story goes like this. Once, long time ago, there was a man he was a farmer, a simple farmer, and he had an orchard and he raised apples. Anybody like apples? He made the best. I mean, his apples were good. Well, one day he was out and it was harvesting time and he was picking and picking and picking and then he picked up an apple. He looked at that apple and all of his years of growing apples, he had never seen an apple so perfect. And he looked at the apple and thought, I'm going to take it home to my daughter because she's the apple of my eye. So he came home and he took the apple and he gave it to his daughter. And his daughter was part of the family business. And she looked and says, Father, this is the most beautiful apple I've ever seen. It's perfect. And he says, yes, and you're perfect for me, sweetie. So I want you to have it. She says, and I can't have this apple. This apple is fit for a king. Dad, you should take it to the king and give it to him. He looked at it and thought, maybe you're right. Now, to get to the king's palace, it was a 3 days walk. He didn't have a horse or a wagon or anything. So he took it and he wrapped it up and he began his journey. 3 days it took him to get to the king's palace. And when he got to the king's palace, the guards are standing there. And the guards are looking and says, yes, can I help you? He says, sir, I've come to bring a gift to the king. You have a gift? Where is it? So he reaches into his cloak and he takes a towel and opens it up and presents the apple. An apple? You want to give the king an apple? You want to disturb him for an apple? He says, no, look at the apple. Have you ever seen a more perfect apple in all of your life? And he looked at it. In fact, no, I have not. It is truly an apple fit for the king, so I want to give it to the king. So he goes and he lets him in. He goes into the courtroom and there the king is set and all of his subjects are around him. And he walks up and he says, my king, I have a gift for you. And he takes and he opens up and presents him with his apple. He says, King, I have raised apples. It is an apple that is fit for a king, and you are my king, so I want to give it to you. The king took the apple and looked at it and says, truly, it is a beautiful apple. What do you want for it? What do I want for it? Yes. What do you want for it? I want nothing. It's an apple fit worthy of a king. You are my king is my gift to you. Well, everybody's talking around. He doesn't want anything from the king. And so they were talking and discussing. While they were having this discussion, the poor farmer just turned around and left. And the king looked for him. He says, where did the man go who gave me the apple? His guard said, he left, sir. Where did he come from? I don't know, but he said he walked 3 days to be able to give you this apple. He alerted one of the guards, go and get my finest horse. And you find him. And you give him that horse as a gift from his king. And that's exactly what he did. And that man rode home on the most beautiful horse you could ever see. Well, there happened to be a merchant there who had heard about all of that. So he went through his stables and he found a perfect horse. And he presented that horse to the king. My king, I understand that you gave away your horse to that merchant, to that farmer. And so I want to give you this beautiful steed as a gift. So the king took the steed. The man was still standing there. Yes, can I help you? He says, well, my king, I mean, I've given you the most prized horse in the kingdom, and I thought you might do something for me. And the king thought about it for a second. Yes, I have a gift for you. And he whispered in the ear of one of his guards. And the guard went back and came back. And he presented the merchant with the apple. Here you are. An apple or a horse? Do you know how valuable this horse is? And you want to give me an apple? And he tossed the apple aside and started to walk away. So the king had the man arrested, taken and locked up. Have gifts. All of us have certain talents that are fit for a king. So we should give our gifts freely to the king, not asking for anything in return, just grateful for the gift that he gave us. But for those of us who want more, be careful, because our greed and our selfishness will also be repaid in kind. And that is my story. That's a simple story that I think really hits home. Because all of us have talents, don't we? All of us have gifts. And this is just an opportunity to use and make those gifts valuable by giving it to the one who is most worthy, our God. Now, I want to tell you another story. This particular story, I told this story at a story came up, and it was kind of interesting because she had never been to a storytelling festival before. And so she was really expecting little kid stories, and this one kind of touched her. The name of the story is called Papa Bear. And it goes like this. There was a man who fell in love with his high school sweetheart. Have you ever been in love? Anybody? I mean, he loved her, and she loved him. And he was a big, burly man. And he would walk around, and he was strong, and he was big, and she was really petite and beautiful. Her name was Catherine. And he and Catherine would dance together and dance together and dance together. And they were married, and life was beautiful. One day when it was a special time on her birthday, they always made a point to dance. And so one day, while they were dancing, she come and she took and placed her hand upon her belly. And he looked down. She smiled. "You're going to have a baby?" And she glowed and he glowed, and he grabbed her in his arms and they danced stronger than they ever danced, even though it wasn't her birthday. Well, it came down to the time that she was ready to deliver. But it was the same day as her birthday. And while they were waiting and not knowing when the day might actually come, he took her and put his hands in her hands and they danced. And all of a sudden, her water broke. They were so excited. He went and he grabbed the car and he grabbed her suitcase and took off. He had gone 2 blocks before he realized he left her at the house. So he turned around and went back and he got her and put her in the car and they went to the hospital and they took him back. Back in those days, the husbands weren't allowed to go back in like they do now. So he just sat there and he waited and he waited. And after a while, the doctor came out. And the doctor had this strange look upon his face. And he looked and said, "Sir, I'm sorry to tell you that there were complications during the delivery and your wife didn't make it. But I want you to know that you have a healthy baby girl." The nurse brought the baby and placed it in his hands. And he looked down at her and she was beautiful. He says, "I'm going to name you Cat after your mother." And he took the baby in his arms and held it and began to dance and dance and dance. Tears streaming down his face. They danced. And every year after that, on her birthday, they would dance. And she was little, so she would put her feet on top of his feet. And she would put her hands inside of his hands. And she'd look up at him and smile. And they would dance. The beauty of that dance was he loved her birthday because they had that special dance together. And that's the way it went until she became a teenager. Anybody have teenage girls? I've had 2. There is something about a teenage girl. She became just the type of kid where she didn't want anybody to see her with her dad. In fact, sometimes when she was coming home from high school and her friends were driving and he'd be out working in the yard, she'd get down in the back of the car and say, "Keep driving, keep driving." He loved his daughter, Kat. And he continued to try to work with her and let her know just how much he loved her. Well, the day came. Fathers, you know that day. It was the day she met that boy. Anybody know that boy? Paul used to be that boy. It was that boy showed up and he liked to smoke and he had a Jeep and he always just kind of was a rough type of a guy, and she thought he was the most handsomest and beautiful and the coolest guy, and all she wanted to do was be around him. And so she would sneak out sometimes at night and they would go and spend time and she would say, "I know, I just can't stand my father. And he said, you know, I'm thinking about moving to the city. You want to come with me? He says, well, I have a cousin that lives in the city. Maybe we could stay with her. Oh, at night, she packed her bags, threw them out the window and climbed down her window and got into that car and drove into the city. When they got into the city, her cousin was actually staying in a hotel. You know those hotels, the ones that you can buy and stay in by the week. And so they all shared this hotel room together for a while. And she looked up, and one day she was looking, and her boyfriend came into the hotel, and he packed up all of his stuff, and then he just rushed out. And she looked and says, where are you going? And as she followed him out, sitting in her seat in his Jeep was another woman. And he says, it's over. I'm done. And drove off. Tears, she went and looked at her and says, you know, she says, I'm sorry that happened, but
Okay, he appears he might have froze up. So
Seems
let's
like
see
it.
if Rasta re-enter Rasta.
Yeah.
Oh, the story was getting very interesting.
I know.
Hey,
Yeah, right at the best
we
part.
gonna hey, listen. Let me take this opportunity real quick. Want everybody to go to the your triangle there that says menu, and right above that is your microphone. To the left of that is I am here. How about going to I am here and rate this event? A 5 would be great. This is a new program. I think it has potentials. So how about let's rate him? This is his first time here, and I'm the moderator as well as Miss Darlene. Thanks for coming. He'll be back in a minute. He'll be back in a minute. Oh, the story was getting interesting, so I don't want to have to jump
right
on this
at the
airplane.
point, he was just like, then it was like, I'm like,
Yep. And
I thought that was just
Miss Carol,
like
where
a
have you
pause
been,
for
Miss
effect.
Carol?
yeah, that's what I thought at first, and then it
Is
just
Miss Carol there? Miss Carol,
no.
Yes, yes, I'm here.
how are you, Miss Carol?
Well, thank you. How are you?
Haven't seen you in a while, Miss Carol.
Yeah, it's been a minute, as they say.
But you are doing well. You are doing. You're sorely missed from the church there. Come on back. Come on
Yeah.
back there, Miss
Well,
Carol.
my husband's church opened back up, so I'm near
I know.
to
I
him.
know.
Yeah.
I know. I so envy that. I so envy that. Our churches, they shut down, and most of them did not open up again. You know. So I was
I
blessed.
drive by. This is a really interesting, but this is way past my bedtime.
Oh, I know. Just relax there. He'll be back. But I want everybody to rate the event and you know, encourage people here
Yeah,
to he's a
all
yeah,
right.
he's
Did
a
you miss me?
Yeah.
yes we did.
Yeah.
And
Right at
I
the
was
best
gonna hunt
part.
you down because we got to hear the ending to this story there, Rasta.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, let's try
Everybody
this
go to-
again. Let me turn back around.
All right, we was at the hotel with the cousins. We was at the hotel with the cousins.
All right. The internet, I told you I'm in a hotel tonight. So the internet at guess 10 o'clock just cut off. So I'm on my
Not a
phone.
problem. We,
So let me
rated
tell
the
you what
event.
happened. So there in the hotel room, her sister hands her a card. And the card is to a strip club down the street. He says, I know you're not legal, but this is a quick way for you to make some money. So Kat ended up going to this place and she starts dancing and she's collecting money and making money and being able to provide. Well, it rolled around when her birthday came. And as she walked in, the bouncer looked up and says, Happy birthday, Kat. She looked and says, "How did you know it was my birthday?" She says, "Because somebody came by and brought you something." And there was a beautiful bouquet of flowers and a card. She looked at the card and she went to where she sat and she took that card and she stuck it in her drawer. Well, all the other dancers were looking and going, "Hey, who was that from? Who was that from? You got a new boyfriend?" She says, "No." Open it up and read it. Inside that drawer were a stack of cards and letters. And she opened that last one up and she read it. "My darling cat, I know where you are and I know what you do. And I want you to know I still love you. Won't you come home and dance with your Papa Bear one more time?" Tears streaming down her face, she began opening the other letters. And all the letters were similar. "Cat, I know what you're doing. You can always come home. I love you. You can always come home." Well, every year, her father would have a party for Cat. And that particular day, he had family over and they were all talking and laughing. And all of a sudden, the door opened and the room got quiet. And there was Cat at the door holding the letter. And she said, "Yes, Papa Bear, I'll dance with you one more time." So she walked over to her father and she put her feet on top of his feet. She put her hands inside of his hands. And they danced, they danced, they danced. I tell you this story because many times we think that we have done things that our Father would never understand, that he could never forgive us for. But I want you to know that your Father has written you a love language, a love letter. And he only wants us to come home to dance with him one more time. And I'm not talking about our earthly father. I want you to know our heavenly Father has his arms outstretched and wants us to come and let him love you, just the way Papa Bear loved his little cat. And that is my story.
Very good.
Thank you.
Woohoo.
This next story is, well, I think you'll see it. I think it's an obvious story. It's called The Bridge. And the first time I heard this story, and if you don't know, storytellers are natural thieves. We love to steal. We may see a TV show or we may hear another story, and we'll take it and we will fix it up and paint it over and tell it all over again. So I actually saw this story in a movie and thought, what a beautiful story. And so I like to share it with you. Once, many years ago, in a place far away, there was a man who was raising his son all by himself. He loved his son. He and his son were very close. They would come and they would laugh and they would play and they would always tell jokes. the son would come up to his dad and says, Dad, I got a joke for you. Okay, son, tell it to me. Okay, here he goes. Joke, joke, joke. Which one was the funniest? And he looked at his son and says, which one's the funniest? He says, yeah, I don't know, son. He says, the first one, Dad. The rest were repeats. And they would laugh and laugh. Now, his father had a job where he watched the drawbridge. And it was a simple job. It was a good job. And so he would stand there, and when the ships would come by, he'd push a button, and the bridge would raise up and open up. Then after the ships passed, the bridge would close up. And on special days, the son would get to go and visit. And every once in a while, his dad would even let him push the button. But he and his dad loved to spend time together. So they would go and they would walk around. This particular day, they were walking around laughing. And he says, Dad, when are you going to take me back to the bridge so I can see and watch the drawbridge open up again? Never know, son. You just be good and it'll happen. But one day, on a Friday, as his dad had dropped him off at school, he went home and he made a thermos of hot chocolate, packed some snacks, and he couldn't wait to pick up his son from school and take him to work with him. So he packed his bag and he packed the hot chocolate and he went to the school, and his son saw him out the window. As soon as the bell rang, he ran his arms. They laughed and they start walking. And as they were walking along, they walked past the train station. And there at the train station, they saw all of these couples and different people. He came across this guy. He was on the phone talking to his mom. Mom, I met the most beautiful woman, the most wonderful woman. I'm in love with her, and I'm going to bring her home to you. The girl was trying to talk, but the problem was she only spoke French and he only spoke English. And she was trying to tell him that she wasn't that into him. But he thought, because French is such a romantic language, that she was declaring her undying love. They walked a little further, and there was a man who was just sitting there with his eyes down. And he looked at him and waved, but he didn't wave back at the little boy. As they were walking by, there was a young woman sitting inside of the train, looking out the window. Tears were streaming down her face. And the little boy waved. She just saw right through him, and the father was looking, and they would try to figure out what was the problem with each person. And they continued to walk. And as they walked down the creek and stopped and they fished. They had enough fish to be able to go back, so they went back to the bridge, and the father was going to set some things up. But before his shift started, he allowed his son to play. He says, now when you hear the train, you come running, and I'll let you push the button. So he was playing, everybody was having a good time. And while he was playing, the little ball that he was playing with went down into the gear shift. And he could see it. All he could just reach his hand down there and he could get it. As he was reaching, all of a sudden, you heard the sound of the train leaving the station. Choo, choo. And the father looked out for his son, and he saw his son reaching down in that gear shift, and all of a sudden he fell in. The father cried out to his son, and he looked at his son, and he saw the train was barreling down, and the drawbridge had already been up and needed to be closed. But his son was in the gear shift. And he looked at his son where his son was, and he looked at the train, and he knew he didn't have time to go and rescue his son, and he had to make a choice. So he, as the train was coming, he hit the button, and the drawbridge slowly closed. He ran down. He went down into that little place, and his son's body, lifeless. He pulled it up just as the train was passing by. And there he's crying, holding his son, and he locks eyes with the girl, the one who was crying. And it goes away. He takes his son home and buries his son. Not too long later, about 7 months, 6 or 7 months later, he was in town walking. There at the light, he looked across, and he saw the girl that he had locked eyes with, who was sitting there crying. And as the traffic stopped and the light changed, they began walking past each other. He noticed that the girl was carrying a baby. What he didn't know was that she was struggling and considering taking her own life because she didn't know how she was going to tell her parents that she was pregnant. The boy had left, but she looked up at him, and their eyes met again. And he looked down at that baby. For the first time since his son passed, he smiled. He had the impossible task of choosing his son and letting a whole world perish, or allowing his son to die, that all those on that train would live. I tell you this story because God our Father knew the only way this world and those that he created in this world could live is if he allowed his son to die. So he freely allowed his son Jesus to come as man, to live, be beaten and tortured and falsely accused and crucified, so that whoever believed in him would live. Tonight I just shared with you a few stories, a few simple stories, stories that I hope that maybe you'll share with someone else. and just remind them that we each have a gift that we should share with our God. And no matter how hard or how many mistakes we've ever made, our God always has his arms out, welcoming us back home. And lastly, that God gave the greatest gift, his only begotten Son, that whoever believed in him would not perish, but have everlasting life. I hope you enjoyed this mini concert. I pray that you were blessed by it and that maybe you'll take some time and use some of these stories just to spark a connection with the person who doesn't know Jesus as their Savior. I want to start next week, and I may change dates because I know there's another Bible study, but I also do this with the Bible itself. And I try to teach people how to tell stories using Bible stories and how to have Bible studies using God's word. Most of you know the Bible is more than 70% narrative. The Bible is a collection of love stories. And by using these stories and learning these stories, we can share with people in a way that's not so threatening. And we actually allow the Holy Spirit to do the teaching by facilitating and asking questions. So we're going to start a weekly, and if you guys have a better date, please just let me know. I thought we'd just do a weekly story session. Where we get together, I'll share a story, we'll learn that story together, and then we'll just talk about it and see what the Holy Spirit teaches us. So I'll be posting that. We'll probably do it about this same time, unless you have another day. I don't know what days. Like Walt was saying, we got something going on every day. So I don't want to swamp everybody, but I do want to kind of share the vision that God has given through Parables Church in this virtual space. So guys, thank you again. Please hang out, talk. I love to sit and talk with you guys and share a little more about parables and the art of Bible storytelling. But these were just stories. These were just folk tales, but obviously they were much more than that.
Well,
Once again.
Pastor Roberts, I really think, and I think I can speak to everybody out here. This was a great event. Once again, I hope that everybody rates the event, and you can depend on me and or Darlene here to give you any assistance that you might need to make this successful. I think this was great. I think this was great.
Yeah, me too.
Again, you emphasize.
But I knew
I'm gonna
it.
tell you,
I knew it.
the best one who could help coordinate time is Miss Darlene. Miss Darlene's presence is unbelievable.